Thank you for joining today's webinar of how to comply with quality management standards on QDMS and Acumatica. My name is Kevin Devecioglu, and I am the Managing Director of Bimser International. Today we put together a panel for you, and we'll be talking about quality management systems in general, and also we'll be showing you how we can use QDMS as well as Acumatica together to comply with various quality, compliance, and regulatory requirements in digital environment. Please keep in mind that this is the series of the first one of the series. So we'll have more webinars coming up on Monday. So we call it Quality Monday. So every Monday at 1:30, we'll talk about quality management systems as well as QDMS, our quality risk compliance and audit management software, as well as Acumatica, how systems are integrated with each other, and how one can use QDMS as well as Acumatica to comply with various standards. Also today with me there is Alex Kvartirov. He's an ISO 9001 certified auditor. So he's also with us today, and we'll learn about ISO 9001 standards on a high level from him, because we like these webinars to be educational as well as informative. So at every webinar, we like to invite different experts, basically, to cover different parts of the quality management systems. So before we hand it over to Alex, let's talk about Bimser International on a high level, who we are and what we do. As Bimser International, we are based in New York, and we are an enterprise software maker since 1998. In essence, we help companies adopt digital transformation and help them simplify their processes. That's what we do. We are very active in various business communities. ASQ is one of them, American Society for Quality, followed by other regional and national organizations that we follow. So we are pretty active in various business communities. Also, we have an educational internship program for university students studying computer science and computer engineering. So this internship is something we really care about, and it has been really popular among university students in New York area. So let's talk about Bimser a little bit. As I mentioned earlier, we are based in New York, and we have global presence. Bimser as a group, we have about 200 employees, and we have been developing enterprise level software products since 1998. We are an Acumatica ISV, independent software vendor. We are a Microsoft Gold vendor partner. We are a certified SAP vendor, and we are a Mayabi ISV partner as well. As for certifications, as to quality standards, we have ISO 9001 certification, also ISO 271 certification. Also, I need to mention that we are backed by European Bank. European Bank for Reconstruction and Development is one of our investors. So with their help and support, we have more visibility in international markets, and we have more natural resources to invest in our products. Since 1998, we focus on these 4 products. I also put the Acumatica badges right next to some of them. Those are the Acumatica certified solutions that we have available in Acumatica's marketplace. We have IBA. IBA is our workflow and records management system that's basically built to help companies automate their business processes. We have BEAM, which is an Acumatica certified solution, helps companies manage their assets. That's an enterprise level asset management system. One can manage assets, fleets, facilities, energy operations, as well as maintenance management. Maintenance is in predictive, preventive, and periodic maintenance operations in a digital environment. This system is also talking to Acumatica. QDMS, we'll talk more about today, is our quality risk and compliance management system. It helps companies comply with various standards in digital environment, and more is coming in this webinar soon. And we have Ensemble as our business process as well as performance and strategy management tool. Also in the bottom, you can see contract management solution as well as IBA ITSM solution built on IBA. IBA is a platform, so we have an opportunity to build various applications. One of them is called contract management. That's an also Acumatica certified solution, helps companies manage their contracts in a digital environment. Also, this system is integrated with Acumatica, so you can pull and push data when necessary. Here you can see how we position our products. Basically, QDMS, Beam for asset management, IBA with the workflow, QDMS for quality management. They are designed to automate processes. They run standalone, and they are also ready to integrate with each other. They are also linked to Acumatica, and based on the project, we can link with any CRM system, manufacturing execution system at any customer's location, so that they can have an integrated management system. That's the advantage. Our systems run on cloud as well as on-premise servers, and we have mobile apps available. So you can get the idea of how we position our products on this slide. Let's talk about what we have done so far. Since 1998, we have deployed our products in many different projects. Speaking of QDMS, we have the highest number. We have more than 1,000 corporate customers using QDMS to comply with various quality and compliance management standards. We have more than 1 million users for QDMS. So we have a lot of experience in quality management systems. And we had a chance to take this experience to Acumatica ecosystem, and we have been getting a lot of good feedback so far. Since we are coming from enterprise market, we have a lot of enterprise level customers. We are working with 3M, for example. They are using our products. We have AstraZeneca, Bimser in pharmaceutical industry. We have Ford in various regions that we work with. We are working with Bridgestone. Godiva Chocolate is one of our customers based in US. So we are working very closely, and they are also using our products. We are working with Henkel. We are working with Nissan, Starbucks, Unilever. United Nations is one of our customers. We are also working with International Paper and other reputable companies. So what does it mean for you as Acumatica ecosystem? So historically, we are coming from enterprise market, and we have a lot of references and experience in that sense. And our products are scalable. They scale up, they scale down. So any customer in mid-market, basically, if that's a growing company, if they have multiple locations, and if they are looking to grow with Acumatica in this particular case, our products are ready for them, and that's an ideal choice for them. So they can grow with our products because we have the scale. You know, while they are using Acumatica, at the same time they can use our products and they can grow together. That's what it means, us coming from enterprise market. So we offer scalability and a lot of experience coming from various industries. That's what it means actually for mid-market as well as Acumatica ecosystem. Until now, I wanted to give you information about who we are and what we do as Bimser International. Now I'd like to hand it over to Alex Kvarcherov. He is the president of AmRus Consulting, which is an ISO 9001 consulting company. Alex has many years of experience in ISO 9001 and quality management systems. So I invited him. He was so nice to join us today. So we like to learn from him in terms of fundamentals of ISO 9001. So let's keep in mind that this is the first webinar of the series. So we like to keep it on a high level as for the ISO 9001. In coming weeks, we like to have a ISO 9001 focus webinar, so we can really dive even deeper parts of ISO 9001. But for today, we like to learn the fundamentals, why it is important and how it is run, and why companies need to comply with ISO 9001, which is very popular in many different industries. Alex, can you hear me? Alex?
Okay, I think I'm muted. Can you hear me now?
Perfect. Yes.
Okay, great.
Alex.
Okay, all right, very good. So good afternoon, everybody, and hopefully you're all feeling well. I know it's going through very difficult and hard times right now, and we hope that pretty soon we'll could get back to normal business again. But in the meantime, I just want to thank Kevin for inviting me, for giving a very, very top level presentation on ISO. Okay, and I'm Alex Kvarcherov. I have a consulting business. I'm the sole proprietor of AmRus Consulting, and I'm a certified ISO 9000 lead auditor. And I have been in business with this consulting company for the last 5 years after a long career with an aerospace company that was certified to the AS 9100 quality standard. And what I do is I help small to middle-sized companies and businesses to either achieve ISO certification and help them to maintain ISO certification. So once you're certified, then every year you have to be recertified to maintain the certification. And back in 2018, I was very fortunate to have met Kevin, and since then I've become a Bimser Solutions partner because what I found is that one of the Bimser tools, QDMS, does provide or gives you great capability in managing all of the ISO-related data. Now, once you are certified and you are maintaining the ISO requirements, there's quite a bit of data that has to be maintained. And that always has been a problem until I established a relationship with Bimser, and that really solved a big part of the problem in actually dealing with all of the ISO-related data. Okay, next slide, please. So ISO 9001 is really the parent ISO of many other ISO principles, and the other ISOs are really focused towards a particular type of business, but basically all of them, or at least 80% of all of the ISO requirements come from ISO 9001. So it is a kind of a parent quality management system. So dealing with ISO 9001 basically covers most of the other ISO requirements. So when an organization is certified to an ISO, any of the ISO principles, they have to pass an audit from the organization that is certified to provide the certification to the individual organizations. So once you're certified to an ISO, you get a plaque, and then you are certified, and you have to maintain the certification by having an audit, a yearly audit, to make sure that you are following all of the ISO principles. So this particular slide addresses the 7 principles of ISO, which the first one is customer focus, which means that you have to make your customer happy by providing a product that the customer wants and deliver it on time. The next principle is leadership, and ISO has to be, it's not just a quality issue, but covers the whole organization. And sometimes ISO is not necessarily called quality management, but a business management system. So all levels of leadership must be involved in following the ISO principles. And then it flows down to all of the people, and all of the people have to be engaged, even at the lowest level. The lowest level workers at the lowest level of the chain have to understand how their part of the work contributes to the overall success of the ISO. ISO is also based on a process approach. And so a process approach is basically organizing your work packages into a contiguous and integrated system that makes it more efficient. And the process approach then leads to another known principle known as the lean system. ISO requires for you to do a continual improvement. And you have to look at your process. You have to look at the results of your process and then evaluate how your internal processes could be improved to make your your business more successful. The ISO is also based on evidence-based decision making. That means that instead of taking guesses or gut feels about what you should do to improve your business, it is really based on the data that you have accumulated, collected, and analyzed, and then based on that data, you make stepwise decisions to make improvements in your business. And the final principle is relationship management. And basically what it is that management has to be involved, not just managing your internal business, but be involved with all of the forces that affect your business, both internal forces, which is called the context of the organization, and also the interested parties, which are the external forces, which could consist of investors, suppliers, unions, regulators, and even neighbors. For example, could be traffic problems with all of the workers coming into work. So all of those issues have to be considered, and management has to address them, and that's what's called relationship management. So next slide, please. This is a system that was really developed by Deming. He's a well-known quality expert, and it's called the Plan, Do, Check, Act cycle, PDA cycle. And what it means is that when you follow the ISO principle, you're continuously involved in this loop, okay, that never ends. So you could be in one loop to make improvements in one area, and in parallel, you can be in different loops that you are always evaluating to make continuous improvement. So when you look at the diagram, on the left side of the diagram, you have your inputs to your business. And does it consist of? Well, it consists of obviously customer requirements. What kind of products or what's in the products that the customer wants. And then what's also driving your planning phase is, as I mentioned before, your organization and the context, which are your internal forces, and also the expectations of interested parties, which are your external forces. So all of this drives your planning phase. And on the right of the diagram, I've listed the 10, well, there are actually 10 ISO clauses, but the first 3 are just introductions and definitions. But the meat of the clauses are 4 through 10. So the numbers on the diagrams really refer to the clause, to the corresponding clause. So for example, the planning phase or clause, which is number 6, this is where you're doing all your planning of how you're going to deal with your external forces and your customer requirements. So your plan then drives clauses 7 and 8, which is the resources, 7, which are needed to do your development or your operation. And the operation is the actual development, manufacturing of your product or service. So in following the loops and the do cycle, this is where your product or service is being manufactured or performed and is being then delivered to your customers. Now, at the same time, Clause 9 requires you to evaluate your service or product, namely look at what problems are there, how can you improve it, and this is both looked at from internal to the organization as well as feedback from the customer as far as the quality of your product or service. Then you're in the check phase, where you're actually checking your evaluation, what you have done, and then you go to clause 10, which is improvement. This is part of your continuous improvement. And then based on decisions that you made on how to improve your product or process, then you act on it, and then it goes back to planning, where you actually integrate your improvements into the product. So basically, you stay in that cycle forever because you're expected to do continuous improvement. So next slide, please. Well, this is basically a summary of what we've talked about. It gives you an idea of why ISO is good for your organization. And as we talked before, it hopefully will improve the customer satisfaction, make your customer happy. Well, as a result of that, your reputation improves and your credibility improves as an organization, and hopefully your sales will improve. Now also, as a result of that, as a result of increased sales and revenue, your profitability should be improving. Now, I have to mention that ISO does not specifically get involved in the finances of your organization. However, following the ISO principles should improve your financial situation. Now, also, some customers require the suppliers to be ISO certified, because that kind of guarantees that your supply chain would be more reliable, and therefore, this is the reason why some of your customers could be requiring you to be ISO certified. As I mentioned before, decisions are based on data, internal data that is being generated, so it improves your decision-making process, and it forces you to be in this continual improvement culture. So you will improve your the quality and also the process of developing your product, which then makes it more efficient and effective. As I mentioned already before, your efficiency will improve, and by better integrating your processes, you will then be basically starting or evolving your lean process. And as I mentioned before, it's very important that ISO not be just really imposed on your quality personnel, but all of the workers throughout the entire organization must be involved in the ISO process. So in a nutshell, this is basically what I wanted to mention as a very top-level introduction to ISO. So thank you very much.
Alex, thank you so much. Thank you for the insights. As I mentioned earlier, this is just an introductory set of slides of Alex as to share some fundamentals of ISO 9001 and quality management. But in coming weeks, we'll have a more ISO 9001 oriented webinar, and we'll learn more about ISO 9001, its fundamentals, and also we'll learn how we can reflect those fundamentals into a digital environment with QDMS as well as Acumatica together. So having this foundational information about ISO 9001, I like to talk about digital transformation of quality management. So fundamentals are there, as Alex shared with us, which we much appreciated. And we need to take these fundamentals and we need to apply them in a digital environment. So let's talk about it for a second, and how we can actually transform our quality management systems in a digital environment. So first of all, just like Alex mentioned, so any quality and management standard, basically, when we comply as a company, that is very important for continuous improvement. So we can improve our processes, we can improve customer satisfaction and other activities of ours. Also, it also provides continuity for our businesses. That's also very important. And when we learn from our mistakes, also we will not repeat it again. So that is also part of continuous improvement, which is very, very, very important. So since we have been deploying QDMS, our quality and management standard system, in many different industries, we have been learning from companies, from our customers. So why do you need to comply with quality and management standards? Alex addressed these. Actually, I'll just repeat some part of it. So customers are asking for it, basically. I'll give you an example. So if I am making a part for, let's say, planes, let's say I'm making a doorknob for the plane, okay, as simple as, and I like to sell it to Boeing, okay, so I need to comply with ISO 9001, I need to comply with AS 9100. If, as a company, if I'm not complying these standards, Boeing will not buy from me, Airbus will not buy from me, so customers are required. In addition, some of the customers in the market, they are looking for, of course, like to have a reliable supply chain, and these certifications, these quality and compliance, quality and management standard compliance, basically is a proof that you have certain policies and procedures in place. So that's also very important. Since if you have these quality and management standards in place, then you can also have a chance to open up in new markets. You can improve your processes and you can grow your business. These are basically why we comply. So while doing that, of course, companies, they have challenges. We have been observing a lot of challenges in the market. One of them is, for example, we keep hearing from the market, they say a lot of paperwork that you need to follow up, for example, you need to manage. Could be any standard. So you need to have policies and procedures in place. You need to document it. Just like Alex mentioned earlier, everything has to be documented, has to be evidence-based. So how am I going to actually have the evidence? It needs to be written. I need to have a record. So that's what they mean by paperwork. Also, since you are busy with your operations on day-to-day basis, you may actually lose sight of your standards sometimes. That may be another challenge. And sometimes these manual work of complying is kind of challenging for companies. However, the good news is, since we are in digital age, we have a lot of solutions for these kind of challenges. If you are complying with, let's say, ISO or any other standard in a digital environment, first of all, you don't need paper anymore. You can digitize all your activities. You can manage your documentation, as in policies, procedures, SOPs, forms, in a digital environment with no need of paper. You can even fill up those forms in a digital environment, right? So you don't have to generate paper on a daily basis. Also, updates are simplified. Everything is digital, as we all know it. Audits are very important. When I say audits, I mean audits internally. I may run audits internally in my company, sales audits, production department, production audits, purchasing department, in a way that we are making sure that we are following policies and procedures in place. Or also, I may be audited by ISO. I may be audited by FDA, for example. So since my documents, my records, my quality management and compliance management system is digital, these audit experience become much easier than before. Also, the administrative burden of maintaining the quality management system is actually reduces. It's reduced by these by the fact that we are in digital age, and the software like QDMS can actually make things much easier. So having said that, we put together a framework. We call this quality management framework in a proactive sense. Okay, so the correct wording is actually proactive quality management framework. We put this together because we've been talking with companies, we've been talking with customers. As I mentioned, as for QDMS, as I mentioned before, we have deployed it more than 1,000 times, and we have more than 1 million customers, and these numbers are increasing. So we are learning a lot of things from our customers. So when we look at this framework, the first thing is assurance, the system that you have in place. For example, Alex mentioned ISO 9001. That is the quality assurance system. That is the system that we need to follow. If you are complying with something else other than ISO, let's say you are complying with AS 9100, you are in aerospace industry, let's say, then you have these quality management system in place. So that system basically drives the business and the quality management system. That is how it is. There may be other systems, other requirements. For example, in medical device industry, which is a heavily regulated industry, or let's say food industry, there are other quality management systems in place. We call this assurance piece. Other piece is control. So we do quality control on daily basis. And these controls may be when you are buying, when you're receiving raw material, for example, when you're doing production, when you're doing processing, or after production, after processing, for example, before shipping. So there are different quality control points that we see in different companies, right? So that is the quality control piece. So typically, quality assurance dictates quality control. So all the quality control pieces needs to be talking to the quality assurance system. So they are not independent from each other. They are interacting both ways. Okay. And the other piece is predictive quality. So yes, we are in digital age. Yes, I can digitize all my policies, procedures, SOPs, and forms. I can run my quality management system digitally, but I can take it further in digital age. So with smart sensors, I can remotely monitor my machinery. I can remotely monitor my environment, temperature, vibration, humidity. I can monitor all these, and I can take action before anything happens. So if something is out of range, if something is, let's say, temperature is out of, let's say I'm a food company, I have industrial refrigerators, and temperature is out of range, either too hot, too cold, something is wrong. It can trigger automatic work order. It can trigger automatic notification. It can trigger automatic corrective action if necessary, part of our quality management framework. We call it proactive quality management framework. So this framework basically ongoing, and it runs on daily basis, and that's what we follow simply. And as to what we do as Bimser International, each piece that I mentioned, assurance, control, as well as predictive quality, we can address all these with our software products, and each of these software products are talking to Acumatica. So we are talking about an integrated management system in a digital environment, which is very, very important. And that's the benefit, basically. We get rid of paper. We become more proactive. We can comply all these quality management systems, starting from ISO to another system, or regulations such as FDA, for example. So I can comply these in a digital environment, less paper. I can be more proactive. And also, as a result of this, naturally, I'll have continuous improvement and I'll perform better. That is where it goes, simply. These are the benefits that we have been talking about. As for the quality management standards, there are many of them in the marketplace. So the reason we started with ISO 9001 is because ISO 9001 is the holy grail of all the quality management systems. So ISO 9001 is always the foundation. And then it goes more specific. So automotive industry, they have their own ISO. Yes, ISO 9001 standards are there. On top of it, they put certain standards just for automotive industry. Same thing for aviation, aerospace. When we say AS 9100, that's actually coming from ISO 9001. The foundation is ISO 9001. On top of it, they put certain requirements for aerospace industry, additional safety measures, additional control measures, and they are very structured about this, for example. Construction industry, we see many different industries and many different standards that we see that they follow. ISO 17025 for calibration standards is another one, for example, we see in construction. Food industry, they have their own standards such as HQF, mostly we see it in North America. BRC, we see it in North America as well as Europe and other parts of the world. For example, there's ISO 22000. So these are other standards that we see in the marketplace. Healthcare, nowadays we talk about healthcare a lot. So as we have been hearing, listening news, for example, a drug, for example, anything that we manufacture, it needs to be FDA approved. So I need to follow FDA's regulations at a company if I'm producing anything about healthcare. Then maybe a pharma related, maybe I'm making medicine, maybe I'm making medical device, for example, for healthcare industry. So that needs to follow the FDA's regulations. That is very important. So that touches to the CFR Part 11 piece for the software industry, which our products are actually compliant with. And there are many other standards. These are still some of them. There are many. However, the important thing is the foundation is ISO 9001, and it goes to more industry-specific standards, basically coming from ISO 9001 towards those industries, whichever we are talking about. So let's talk about QDMS a little bit, and then we'll also show you live how QDMS can help companies comply with various quality management systems, and how QDMS is interacting, talking, integrated with Acumatica. Basically, we'll also address that as well in this webinar, which is very important. So QDMS is a quality, risk, audit, and compliance management software, and that's also available in Acumatica marketplace. That's a Acumatica certified solution. We just actually got recertification for 2019 R2, but it hasn't reflected on the page yet. So just a side note. So as for the digital transformation of quality management, which I was referring earlier, so QDMS is talking to smart sensors, it's talking to manufacturing execution systems, talking to CRM systems, talking to Acumatica ERP system, for example, to push and pull data. The idea is this: if any company, if any of the corporations that we are working with have these systems in place, we can talk to these systems, and customers can have integrated management system, and they can avoid double entry. That is the beauty about it. So one system talks to another one talks to the other one, so you can have that integrated system, and you can follow up what is going on. As for smart sensors, as I mentioned earlier, anything about temperature, vibration, humidity, noise, light, all these things can be actually remotely monitored by smart sensors right now. They're not expensive, they're very easy to use, and QDMS is integrated with many different sensors, and it doesn't really matter what you have. These systems, these sensors come with software already, so we can easily integrate, and you can actually pull and push data. And the idea is that in the concept of quality management, if there is a need for corrective action, which leads to the continuous improvement, you can manage it. Same thing with manufacturing execution systems, CRM, as well as Acumatica ERP. We have already integrated. We are already integrated with Acumatica. We have these in place, and we can do any other integration when necessary for the project. QDMS is designed to run any quality management standard, basically, starting from ISO to SQF and BRC. System is very flexible. It's a web-based structure, architecture, just like Acumatica. Once we deploy it, you can access it from anywhere. That's a great advantage, especially nowadays. Most of us, we are working from home. We are working remotely, and having that web-based architecture, being able to access the system wherever you are, is a great advantage nowadays. Also, it has a lot of security features. As I mentioned earlier, the system is FDA CFR Part 11 compliant, QDMS, so we put in place a lot of security features in that sense as well. And there is also mobile application available. QDMS works on cloud and on-premise servers, just like Acumatica. We can deploy anywhere, and you can access the system wherever you are via web browser or mobile app that we have available. So QDMS and Acumatica, they work very well together technologically and strategically. One of the advantages of QDMS is that's modular. We have more than 30 modules available right now. As I mentioned earlier, QDMS has been around since 1998. That's a very, very mature system. We have seen many different industries, many different customers complying with many different standards. That is our advantage on our belt. And of course, from 1998 to now, we have been developing our product by listening to our customers, by addressing their requirements, by understanding how they are complying with various quality management systems, as well as compliance requirements in different industries. So, having said that, we have more than 30 modules available. These are major modules that I put on the screen. So when we offer QDMS, we are not trying to sell entire system. We talk to our customers, with our partners, we are channel only. So we try to understand what they do, what they comply, how they comply, and what is their challenge. These are 3 discovery questions we always ask. What do you comply? How do you comply? What is your challenge? So once we understand the challenge, we can address with our modules. And we show these modules to quality managers. Basically, they can pick and choose what they need. This is the flexibility that we offer. That's easier to invest, easier to learn, easier to sell, right? Internally, that's another challenge most of the time in software industry. And you can go live pretty quickly. There is control document management module. This is the backbone. So as we talk about the management systems before, and also in the scope of ISO 9001, Alex also mentioned, documentation is the key, basically. I call it the backbone of any quality management system, because if I don't have my written policies, procedures, SOPs are in place, then what do I have? It's just hearsay. You are doing one thing today, and you are doing another thing the same thing in a different way. There is no standard. So having that control document management is very important. So with this module, you can manage your policies and procedures. And after my presentation, I'll hand it over to Sam, our software engineer, one of our engineers in our engineering team, and he'll show you how actually control document management module runs. That is what we like to show today. And coming webinars every Monday, we'll talk about other modules and other quality management systems. There is customer complaint module available. So just like Alex mentioned earlier, our expert speaker today, so getting feedback is very important. So for me to improve my processes and my business and my product, I need to get feedback. So how do I get the feedback? I get the feedback from my customers, from my team members, right? From my employees, from my vendors. So I need to have that engagement to get the feedback. So this customer complaint module is very important in that sense. I can get internal and external feedback. This feedback doesn't have to be complaint actually. It can be a feedback. It can be a positive feedback, can be a negative feedback, which may be the complaint, right? So either way, I can get feedback and I can take action, as in corrective action, for continuous improvement. Another module that we have is called, for example, suggestion module. That is to get internal suggestions from my team members, from our, from within our company, to get some feedback to improve some of our operations, for example. Audit management module is also important to get feedback. I can do audits internally, as I mentioned earlier. We can do cross auditing, sales audits, purchasing audits, production department, for example, to making sure that policies and procedures in place are followed, and if there is any way to improve anything, for example. So in that sense, audit management module is also very important. Surveys, another of them, right? We all do surveys at least once in a year, right? To get, hear from our customers, basically, So in that sense, we also put together a survey module where you can put together your surveys towards your customers, towards your team members, for example, your vendors, and you can get the feedback right away, along with statistics, along with results and analysis, which is very important for continuous improvement. Also, we have calibration module. We have risk management modules available. So nowadays we have coronavirus crisis, right? We have this difficulty right now. So one of the things that we have noticed is that there is going to be life before coronavirus, before COVID-19, and business life after COVID-19, right? So one of the things that we have been seeing is that risk management has been missing in the market, right? So in that sense, having these risk management modules are very important, like thinking about health and safety risk assessment, for example. Okay, let's say you are a manufacturer, coming up with certain scenarios, putting together certain plans in place with this module, for example. And if that happens, God forbid, then you just like pressing the button, then you put those policies and procedures in place and everyone follows. Of course, you need to do the rehearsals, right? You have to do the practice, of course. And we have also a module for that as well, that you can record you can schedule your risk-based scenarios, your plans. If something happens, what are you going to do? Okay, if something happens, if there is flooding, what are you going to do? If there is fire, what are you going to do? If there is, a contagious disease, what are you going to do? These are all disaster scenarios, but this is how you're going to manage the risk assessment, basically. What if that happens? What is your plan B? So we put together various risk assessment modules: environment, health and safety, IT assets risk management, as well as process risk management. And we have other modules on the right side, such as incident management. Something happened in let's say organization, someone falls, someone hurts himself, herself. So what happens? Making the investigation, finding the root causes, and understanding what really happened, and sharing the results. This is what happened. Because of this reason, this team member actually fell. He wasn't wearing his work boots, for example, work shoes. So from now on, everyone has to pay attention for this. That's maybe the lesson learned, for example, after that incident management report. And we have many more modules available for QDMS, and these are just major of them. And we believe life after COVID-19, in this sense, these modules, every single one of them, is going to be very, very helpful for companies, more than before. I mean, QDMS is a proven system. We have more than 1,000 customers, more than 1 million users already. However, in coming days, it's going to be even more helpful for many different organizations. That's what we believe. Let's talk about some use cases, and then I'll hand it over to Sam. So one of the food companies that we are working with, for example, they are compliant with ISO, SQF, BRC, halal, and kosher. They have about more than 1,000 employees. They are still using QDMS for these compliance purposes. So they have challenge. They had actually many different challenges. Some of them actually, to list, having a lot of paper-based archive, right? So they were basically compliant with ISO, SQF, BRC, halal, and kosher on paper, literally. So they had a really huge archive on paper base. So something, basically, you need to pull up a policy procedure. You need to go to archive to pull it. That's the challenge. Very time consuming. You can misplace it. You can lose it easily. Also difficult to follow the policies and procedures on daily basis. It's because it's hard to locate them most of the time. Also, when ISO auditor comes, it is difficult to prove it to the auditor that you're actually following policies and procedures, because you need to go to archive all the time, pull up the documentation, you need to show it. This was very challenging for them. So once we deployed QDMS for this organization, they had the chance to digitize all their documentation as to policies and procedures. And they had multiple locations, they still have. And right now they have the chance to access their documents, their data, wherever they are. Also, since all these policies and procedures digitized, no matter who is running the quality management system, QDMS is there. So they had a chance to create corporate memory in that organization. That was an example in food and snack industry, for example. Another one is in healthcare. As I mentioned earlier, healthcare is a heavily regulated industry. Okay, not to mention FDA, not to mention GMP. And by the way, we'll talk about GMP, good manufacturing practices, next Monday. So you're invited. So if you're in the industry, you need to comply with GMP, various ISO standards. If you are in the medical device industry, for example, ISO 13485 is a must, for instance. Anyway, so this company, they have more than 500 employees. So they had hard time passing the audits as to ISO, GMP, and FDA. They had hard time showing their activities that they are following the standards. Also, they had hard time also taking corrective actions and recording them for continuous improvement, because the documentation was loose. So they were health paper, health Excel sheets, Word files, but that was challenging for them to keep everything together in one system, basically. So once we deployed QDMS, they started to manage their policies and procedures in digital environment. So anytime that they make any revision in the documentation that they have as to policies, for example, the notification goes to their team members automatically. So you send the notification to your team members, and they get the memo. There is no such thing as I never get the memo. I know you get it. I know you read it. So you can see all these tracing in QDMS. That is also very important for them. They started to have easier audit experience, and also they started to also have more and more corrective actions as to continuous improvement. So these are some of the findings that actually we note during this project. There's a company in healthcare industry, more than 500 employees and multiple locations. So having said that, I'd like to hand it over to Sam. Sam is our pre-sales software engineer. He's part of our engineering team. So Sam put together our demo environment for QDMS. Today he'll be showing us how you can manage your policies, procedures, SOPs, forms in a digital environment with QDMS. Also, he'll also give you an idea of how QDMS and Acumatica talking to each other. So the one that he'll show you right now is just an example. Honestly, QDMS and Acumatica, these are both modern systems. They're great systems. We love working with Acumatica, and these are both modern systems, and we get APIs so easily. So we can talk to any part of Acumatica, and Acumatica can talk to any part of QDMS. That's straightforward. Nevertheless, we put together a foundation integration, and we'll talk about it as well. Sam, are you ready?
Yes, I am.
Okay, great. Floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. And first of all, please let me know if you can see my screen.
Yes, we can.
Nice. Okay. So thank you for passing the mic to me. Thank you, Kevin, and thank you for joining this meeting. So this webinar, I will cover QDMS and actually the control document management module of QDMS. But first of all, this is the home screen after you log into QDMS. And you can see I log in QDMS by using my web browser. So after deploying QDMS on your server, like on-premise server or cloud server, you can connect to QDMS anytime and anywhere with using the web browser. And this is the admin account. And you can see, or you can tell from the top right of the screen, it shows you the username. And you can find all the pending tasks and requests for approval on this home screen, which allows you to get a quick connect to those requests. And it makes sure you won't miss any task in QDMS. And on the top left, this is the main menu of QDMS, and you can find all the available modules on your server. And then let's get to control document management module. In this module, first of all, you can read the document. And QDMS support different file type that you upload in the system. For example, like specification, procedures, or SOP, regulations that for complying with the regulation or standard like BRC, like FDA, like ISO. And on the left, you can find a nice folder structure. And it's helped you to organize your folder and document in QDMS. And you can click the folder and go into one. And the content of your document will be shown in the built-in browser of QDMS, which means you don't need any other software to read the content of your document. And QDMS support your document in different file format. For example, PDF, Microsoft Word, Excel, PowerPoint, even video, audio. And this is the content of my document. Okay, and you can read it in the built-in browser of QDMS, and all the activities of the user carry out against this document will be recorded in the log of QDMS. You can find the date and time and what is the activity type. And in this module, of course, you can create a new document. So you can select the folder that you want to put your document at, and to the next step. Then you have to enter a unique document code and the name of it. And while uploading a new document or revising an existing document, you can manage the permission to the users based on their group, position, profession, or department. You can manage the permission like reading, printing, revising, getting back to the previous version, and delete a document. You can also manage the distribution list, which means which user or group has the obligation to read this document when it is uploaded to the system or revised in the system. And you can also manage the approval flow for uploading this new document. For example, I'm going to add Kevin into the approval flow. And this is my account, like Bimser int admin. So I want to have Kevin as the last approver, which means now once this document is sent into the system, it will be sent to my account for approval first. And after my approval, it will be sent to Kevin for another approval. And right here, we can upload our document from our local drive, which I'm going to add a document. And you can see the file upload successfully. And at last, we can send this into the approval flow. And as I mentioned before, it would be sent to myself the permission. Okay, we have to manage right here. And this, for example, I just want to keep this user or myself into the permission matrix. And we can delete all of them and send it into the flow. Again, let me do this once again. And after that, it will be sent to me, my account for approval. Right here, you can see it's waiting for my approval. And I can find this request right on my home screen. Document for approval request, which allow me and remind me all the tasks and the request is waiting for my approval right on this home screen. And you can delete and revise the document in this module and also manage the folder structure. Again, only the user with the permission can manage the folder in this module, because all the activities, it is role-based based on your position, profession, department, and group. So you can add a new document or change the name of your folder here, and also manage the default authorization matrix and approval matrix as well. At last, you can see the reporting tool in this module, which allows you to generate the ready-made report. For example, like document status report. And you can generate this report right here by setting up some condition to your report and create it. And now you can find all your documents in the list in different status. And you are more than welcome to use the search function or the search bar, which provided in QDMS. And in the system infrastructure, we integrate the information like employees, customer name, and our product with Acumatica. So let me show you how we can make some changes in Acumatica and it's reflect on QDMS. So this is the employee list that I have. So for example, I have Michael, Andrews, and I can also find the same employee information in Acumatica. And this is Acumatica page, excuse me, right here. And Michael Andrews. So what if we make some changes in Acumatica? So for example, like change Michael to like Mike, and then we save it. So you will see the changes will reflect in in QDMS as well. So this is the page, and same thing how we can manage for the customer name. So we can have our customer name and also our product. We can change it like the stock item that we have in Acumatica and change the name or make some changes. And those will change in all the record will change in QDMS as well. So let us come back to the home page. And we schedule the task in our server, and it takes place every minutes. So let us come back to the employee list. And it's take a little time for it to run and update the record that we have. And in the meantime, we can also find the changes in customer and also the product. And then let's come back to the employee. Okay. And it is running. So we can see if it is updated yet. And we come back again. Let me show you is Okay. Not yet. And then we double check it. Okay, and it is warning. It is still warning. And by the way, this is how we can integrate QDMS and Acumatica, and we can connect it to any fields in Acumatica, as long as we have the integration and the task warning. Then let's go back. And I'm going to find 001. Okay, and there, 1 second. And I believe the task is warning. Yes, it is almost done. Okay. Let's get it another minute. It's almost. For my screen, it is 80%. So it is almost done. Okay, and let's see now if it is ready. So ready now. Okay, and here we go. We have Mike Andrews. So again, this is how we can or that's how we do the integration of QDMS and Acumatica. And we can integrate with any fields in Acumatica. And it's come to the end of my demonstration. Thank you for watching.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. So, of course, this is just an example of how we can integrate. What we do is typically is to integrate, and we have certain parts already integrated. Customers are integrated, vendors are integrated, products are integrated, as well as employees are integrated in Acumatica. So once we deploy the system, based on the customer's need and quality management system, we integrate further. For example, we deploy QDMS in Acumatica, for example, we integrate it to their product list in addition, in detail, their product numbers, barcode numbers, and so on. So if there is any customer complaint, they can link it to the record in Acumatica, for example. And there was a question, for instance, as to document management. If all the documents that we put in QDMS, can it be also seen in Acumatica? It can be seen. We have done that integration before. The only thing is depends on what quality management system that you have. So I'll give you an example. Let's say you are compliant with ISO 13485, which is really in the field of FDA, for example, which is touching to CFR Part 11. Which requires a lot of security. So all these documents that you have in QDMS are secure. All the permissions are in place, and based on the permissions and the role-based system, not everyone can see everything. So that security is the key of FDA compliance as well as ISO 13485. So if you don't have such a strict quality management system, yes, we can all anything is approved, we can make it available on Acumatica as well, just to make sure. Just we need to make sure that those permissions are also available in Acumatica as to user by user. So in this webinar, we just wanted to show you the document management piece is to use QDMS. Next Monday, we'll be talking about good manufacturing practices, and we'll be also touching to quality control piece between QDMS as well as Acumatica. How would you actually run your quality control operations in the scope of quality management, basically. So we'll be showing you more on these next Monday as well. We'll continue. We have been getting some questions, so I can address some of them, and some of them about ISO 9001, some of them about QDMS, some of them are about QDMS and Acumatica together. So I think I addressed the integration points basically. Also, we put our contact information in the bottom. So if you'd like to have more detailed demo, please feel free to send us an email. We'll schedule time. We'll talk more about QDMS, more about Acumatica, more about quality management systems. So one of the questions that I got, Alex, are you still there? Okay.
Yes,
good.
yes, I'm here.
So one of the questions I got is about ISO 9001. Is it a quality management system only for manufacturing, or can it be applied in in different industries as well?
Oh, no, the ISO definitely applies to all industries. And as I mentioned before, it's both manufacturing and service industries. So it covers all of the industries. And as Kevin mentioned, there are a number of different ISOs, specifically for aerospace, pharmaceutical, automotive, and so on. So they're covering all of the various manufacturing organizations. And it's interesting to point out that one of my customers was a one-man machine shop. And I asked them, well, why do you want to go for ISO certification? He said, well, because some of my potential customers require me to be ISO certified. So, you know, it covers from a one-man organization to huge companies, you know, with thousands and thousands of employees.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's vertical free, pretty much.
Right.
Thank you, Alex. Yeah, that is important. Customers are asking for it. As a company, we are also compliant with ISO 9001 in addition to ISO 27001, for example, for information security. So we sell through our partners, right? We are channel only. So when we make the sale with our partners, always customers ask for ISO 9001 certification. You know, what do you have in place? Because it shows that you're taking this seriously. You're taking your work seriously. You have policies and procedures in place. You have systems in place. So that's not really dependent on people, only people. That also has actually systems in place, regardless of who is running the operations. The system will be there running. That's what it means. So that's very important. Sam, I have a question that I received that is actually, if you can address, that'd be great. The question is there any mobile app that I can use for QDMS?
Yes, mobile application of QDMS is available for Android and iOS device. So anytime you can download on your smartphone or tablet through Google Play Store or the Apple App Store.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Sam. So one of the questions also, I'm also checking, I receive a lot of questions. So one of them is about Acumatica and QDMS. What modules, what pieces, what parts of Acumatica I'm supposed to have to run QDMS? What are the requirements? So from the QDMS part, we have no requirement actually. So any part that you have of Acumatica, we can integrate. If you just have the finance part, for example, the foundational part, we'll also integrate that to get our foundational information, which is the list of employees, list of products, list of vendors, so list of customers for correctivation as well as customer complaint management perhaps. So we can get these. If you are running, for example, manufacturing module of Acumatica, we can also integrate that because some of the manufacturing operations you may need corrective action, you may want to document it, and that is also available in terms of integration. So in a part of Acumatica that's available, we can integrate. So we have that flexibility. Let me see a list of the questions that I have. So let me see. One of the questions about actually pharma industry. So recently, pharmaceutical as well as medical device industry became really, I would say we hear about it, we read about it, so it's in front of us, and we get a lot of requirements in that sense as well. So for pharma industry, what kind of standards are there, and if I can use QDMS for it? So to address this question, so there are different requirements for pharma industry. But the first thing is, of course, the FDA requirements, right? And as to software product that we are offering as to QDMS, we are complying with CFR Part 11, basically. They basically articulate detail how the software is supposed to be running. It has to be secure, it has to be role-based, and also in terms of access, everything has to be recorded, reportable, traceable. You need to have an audit trail. And not everyone can get into any part of the system, and not everyone can change everything in the past data. The data there, you cannot just change it whenever you want. There are certain regulations that we need to follow in our software, which is also available. Also another piece is the validation piece. So anything that you do in your software needs to be validated. So if I update my software, which is QDMS, right? If I have a new update, every time I update it, every time I have a new release, that actually hits on the validation piece. So that is also another thing. You cannot just, deploy any software product that you like into pharma industry. You need to A, follow FDA, CFR Part 11 regulations. B, you need to also validate the system. So we also have validation system available, which is very, very important. Yes, so I also get other questions. I can address those as well. So as to pricing model, the pricing model is based on the number of modules that you get. So just like Acumatica, there is no limit as to how many users that you have. There is no pricing model based on the number of users. Our pricing model is based on number of modules that you have. And also, the lowest entry point is really up to you. Basically, you can get one module, you can get 5 modules, 6 modules. So it really depends. But I'll be happy to talk about pricing also separately as well. You have my contact information on the screen. I can address. Yes. So we have both models. We have subscription and as well as perpetual. But in these, nowadays it is all about annual subscription. So we are really aligned with Acumatica in that sense. Annual subscription typically built once in a year, and that is way to go nowadays. Most of our sales nowadays in North America as well as other part of the world is basically subscription based. But if a customer really wants perpetual licensing, we have that option as well. Also, if you have QDMS in place, yes, you can incorporate your branded documents forms into QDMS as well. So anything that you have in place as to your own documents, you can incorporate it. Also, we also have a tool if you have, let's say you have quality management system in place, and you have also already documents, policies, procedures already ready-made, let's say on Excel sheet or other forms, for example, in electronic environment. We have a tool that you can actually migrate those documents into QDMS automatically based on rules and permissions available. So you can easily incorporate. Well, I see we have more questions. It's just that we are running out of time. That is the challenge. I'll get one more question, and then we'll continue hopefully Monday. We call these Quality Monday webinars. So we'll just talk about quality on Mondays at 1:30 p.m. And we'll address different quality management systems, and we'll link it to QDMS, Quality Risk and Audit Management System, and Acumatica together. So that becomes a very informative, very educational conversation for us. Yes. So as for suppliers, yes. So you can manage your suppliers in QDMS. Some of the companies they need to actually approve their suppliers, and they need to actually audit their suppliers periodically. That maybe depends on once in a year, once in 6 months, right? So there are different standards based on the company and the industry. So A, you can run your audits and approve the supplier in QDMS. B, if you like to put an expiration date on the supplier's approval, if you need to renew it, for example, just like a certification in a way, yes, system has notifications available. So you can put the date, and you can also pick when you like to be notified, a month earlier, a couple of weeks earlier, 3 months earlier. Not only you, we can also notify the vendor, for example, to let them know that the expiration date for the supplier audit is coming up, basically. So that's also available. Also, we see other requirements in different industries from different customers. Some of them are very straightforward. So what we typically think as business people from common sense point of view, so they follow that. Some of them are more sophisticated in quality management. They have a vision as to run operations in the company with the quality management system. Could be ISO 9001, could be ISO 13485, could be AS 9100, whichever that may be. So sometimes they have more requirements. So they like to capture more data to get the quality management system going. So that is also available for us. We can also do other updates in the system to make sure all the requirements are checked. Well, it looks like we are coming the end of our time. So I like to put it on screen as to our coming webinars. As I mentioned, we try to stick with every Monday. And every Monday at 1:30, we like to get together with other companies, with you and other quality management community members, and we like to talk about different standards. So next week, we are planning to talk about GMP, good manufacturing practices, and how you can run some part of GMP in QDMS as well as Acumatica. And the following week, we'll talk more about ISO 9001. Hopefully, Alex can make it to that webinar, so we can learn more from him as to how to run ISO 9001, how to put the quality management system based on ISO 9001 together. And then on May 4th, we'll be talking about ISO 13485 in medical device industry. So medical device industry, as I mentioned earlier, is also heavily regulated. It's also very important, and there are a lot of requirements in ISO 13485. ISO 13485 is coming from ISO 9001, but aligned towards the medical device industry. So it has very specific requirements that we like to talk about, and we like to show how we can actually comply with ISO 13485 in a digital environment with QDMS, as well as talking to Acumatica and any other system the customer may have. And finally, on May 11th, we'll be talking about SQF. So that's a requirement. That's a quality management system in food industry, very popular in North America. You don't see too much of it in Europe or Asia or other parts of the world, but in North America, it's very popular, and you see this a lot in food manufacturing and food companies. And we'll talk about this as well. SQF and BRC, these are actually very similar to each other. It just depends on the customer, what they're asking, and it depends on the company in terms of preference. But this is an important quality management system in food industry. So that is basically the coming weeks. And we have a longer list. I didn't put the entire schedule in this slide, but more to come. And we'll talk more about these in coming weeks. So I'm looking forward to seeing you on April 28th. Next Monday, and please register, and we can dive deeper part of quality management systems, as well as good manufacturing practices next Monday. Looking forward to seeing you there. I'd like to thank our attendees. Thank you very much for your time. I'd like to thank Alex. Thank you very much for joining us, Alex. Thank you for sharing your insights.
Thank you, Kevin, for inviting me.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Alex. And I'm looking forward to seeing you all next Monday at 1:30 p.m. And we'll talk more about quality management systems, as well as good manufacturing practices, and how to comply with QDMS and Acumatica together in a digital environment. And we'll talk in detail, hopefully. Thank you so much for your time, and looking forward to seeing you next week, next Monday. Thank you, and have a nice day.